Hi, everyone, and welcome to Amplify You, the podcast dedicated to connecting the dots between industry best practices and resources you can bring back to your agency today. I'm your host, Caitlin Agar, Head of Learning and Development for Indium, and one of the many content contributors working to bring the future of professional development to the insurance industry. At Amplify You, we believe in the power of collaboration and the strength of collective intelligence. That's why we crowdsource our content, tapping into the experiences and insights of insurance agency owners like you, and why we created this platform to amplify the voices of thought leaders who are shaping the future of the insurance landscape. Join us as we unlock the strategies to help you build the team and lifestyle you want. This podcast is your gateway to discovering new opportunities and thinking independently together. Welcome to Amplify You, where training will get you where trying can't. Let's dive in. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. I am happy to have 2 feet planted in Tampa, Florida for the first time in a few weeks.
It's been, has the novelty of traveling worn off yet? Do you love it?
I don't know that there ever was a novelty. I don't really like being gone from home very much at all. Like I can handle a day here or there, but when last week I was gone from Tuesday, and the easiest way to get home not being on a red eye was Sunday morning. That's a long time. And so for me, I'm good. I can pop off and do, a day or two here or there, but to go to a conference where it's going to last for an entire week, that's honestly too much. And I've made the commitment to myself already for 2024. I'm off the grid. I'm not taking any engagements. I'll go to conferences as a visitor, but I'm not speaking. I'm not doing breakouts unless somebody calls me at the 11th hour and says, hey, we had a speaker cancel. Can you fill in? Then I'll do it to help a friend out. But other than that, probably the next year or two, I'm just going to lay low. I've got too much going on at the agency.
It can throw things a little off kilter when trips can take several days. I know you have some younger kiddos. Do you let them text you? Do they text you while you're traveling?
Oh yeah.
I got some. I miss you,
don't
Mom.
let Ethan. Yeah, we don't let Ethan have his phone. We let him have it, but only to take pictures and play games, because when he gets somebody's number in there, he does not understand time. And so it could be 3:00 in the morning and he rolls over and he's texting people. And he's the type that if you don't answer him right away, he's going to text you again and again and again. So we've had friends and neighbors that say, Ethan texted us in the middle of the night again. So we just deleted all the numbers out of his phone at this point. But Caroline does. And that's like the greatest text ever as a dad, is to get, Daddy, I miss you. When are you coming home? Absolutely perfect.
I screenshot them and try to save it. So we have it set up so that they can only text us and grandma. So
nice.
It's pretty locked down, but I just love that they're old enough to send those little notes now. So I bet when that plane lands in Florida and you're back to your, sunny favorite place, that it's a good feeling to be back.
It is, and there's usually driveway art in chalk with signs welcoming me home and pictures colored and painted and everything else. I'm just running out of room to hang all this stuff now, and it's tough because they feel bad every single time. Like if I leave it sitting on my desk at the house as opposed to bringing it here. But you know what? We'll figure it out. Nothing better than being a parent. I honestly believe that. And if it were up to me, I'd have 8 kids or 10 kids or whatever else. But obviously, I'm not the only one who gets a vote in that. So we stopped at 4.
See why people do it. Yeah. Mess.
Well, look, my philosophy is really simple. I feel like the only way we're going to be able to change the world perpetually moving forward is if we have kids and raise them the right way.
Mm-hmm.
We can do our best to make an impact on adults. And certainly we have the ability to be influential and maybe have healthy debate, if we can have that in this country anymore, to, hash out differences. But the one thing I can assure you is that if I have a child and I raise them the way that I know that I feel is the right way to raise them, they're going to know how to treat a young lady. They're not going to, as a young lady, my daughter, I can promise you, knows how she should be treated. And that's going to be a big problem, moving forward for some of these boys, because she's going to have very, very high standards. But, not just that, but just simple manners and stuff. There's so many things that are lacking that are important in business. Eye contact, understanding how to shake somebody's hand. Like this honestly could probably be a class in school, how to have appropriate etiquette when you get out into the real world. And they can combine that with the class on how to balance your checking account. But, aside from that, that's really it. I mean, I pour myself so much into my family, and I think people don't understand how I'm able to do that. But that's kind of the power of technology and automation and everything, the content stuff and the distribution across social channels. While it looks like there's a lot going on, there's not a lot going on, because the one thing I swore when I opened Florida Risk was I'll never miss a recital. I'll never miss gymnastics. I'll never miss a ball practice. I will always be there unless I have to travel and be gone. And so that's the beauty of the industry we're in. We have that flexibility, right? I'm not going to sell myself out to my job, because at some point this isn't going to be here, but my family's going to be forever. And that's where I'm going to cast my lot and make the majority of my investments.
And at the end of the day, when it's been, 20, 30, 40 years from now, you're going to be thinking about your family and the kids, and you are making a huge impact in the industry. So I don't want to minimize that. But today is my little girl's 9th birthday. And so one of the other moms in class said, because her son just turned 9 as well, she's like, we're halfway to 18 now. She's like, I have a feeling the next 9 years is going to go even faster. And I said, I know you're right. And I don't know about you, because I know Carolyn's a little young still, but mine are 7 and 8. So they're old enough to remember and have the memories of what's going on now. And there's a agency owner that talked to me a couple years back when my kids were babies. And she said, I know you feel bad traveling and being gone from them now. She said, but they're going to need you even more when they're older. And now that they're 7 turning 8 and 9, I keep remembering that. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, it's really, the stuff is really sticking now, and making it to the games that you're making too, I know, makes such a huge difference.
Well, it's funny because she's 9 and she'll be 10 September 3rd this year. And it's hot in Florida. And we started noticing the last couple of weeks she was wearing sweatpants to school every day. And I know that's a certain trend, but, Annie started digging a little bit, and we found out that she was becoming self-conscious about the fact she's not shaving her legs. And I'm sure somebody said something to her, but she didn't come back and say anything to us. And finally she told Annie, she's like, I'm just embarrassed. I got to, and we, quite honestly, as her parents, we joked about, holy cow, like, how much more hair could this kid have on her legs, right? It's not like she's a Sasquatch or anything, but she's a 9-year-old girl. And it's like, she's going to have to start shaving her legs soon, or she's going to get made fun of at school. And sure enough, so she was so proud of herself when I got home last night. I had to run an errand and ran up to Ocala last night and back. And I didn't get home till like 8:30, but she was there in her shorts and she had her legs completely shaven. It was the first time. I guess I'm sure Andrea helped her. I didn't get the details on the story, but she goes, feel them, Daddy, feel how smooth they are. So I reached down and I grabbed her ankle and I rubbed it. And I was like, I hope you don't have all the little boys at school doing this now. They're going to have to answer to me. So, but I mean, it's just every day, every year, it's a different challenge. It's something new that you're not used to. And just when I get the boys figured out, our youngest is a little girl, so I'm learning all over again with her.
Somewhere along the line, the little kid issues started turning into big kid issues. So we're just along for the ride.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, that's great. Oh my gosh. I'm glad you got home. It was an action-packed past couple of weeks with all the events going on. And you have some cool stuff coming up. So what's next? What's next on your radar?
So for me, I'm speaking at an event up in Minnesota/Wisconsin in May that I've never been to that part of the country before. So it'll be cool just to see it. Completely new audience, which always amps me up when I get to talk to new people and meet new people, because I like to spend time when I go to these things and see as many people and talk to as many people as I can. And then we have Producers in Paradise for Key West in June, the 22nd through the 26th, for all the people that are in Killing Commercial and all of our partners that help us put that event on, like Indium, for example. And then in July, I'm going to be doing I have a gig in Texas, but it's only for like a day and a half. So after that, I'm done for the whole summer. And honestly, I don't even count the day and a half, because that's there and back. That's not a big deal. And then, I don't ramp up again until the fall. So I'm really excited to be able to just be here at the agency. We're doing a lot of stuff right now with Hawksoft, and specifically bringing Peggy Corbett in from agency transformation to be able to help us just with some SOPs and formalizing processes and things. And that's the part of the business that I don't really like that much. I mean, I'm capable of doing it, certainly, but I prefer to be on the production side. And so I want to make sure we're getting all of this stuff buttoned up. And then we're going to have a big announcement at the beginning of the year. We're going to bring in a rock star COO, and that deal has already been consummated. So it's just a matter of me making sure everything's ready for that person to come in. And, the other thing is I made a really cool hire this year. One of the things that I've always believed in the industry is we need to do everything we can to fertilize and grow new talent as best we can. And one of the ways that I've done that is every summer I get an intern from one of the universities. Usually it's Florida State, and I'm not even a big Florida State fan or anything, but they have the insurance and risk management school. So that's where I like to get people from. But we had a young lady come in last year, Abby O'Brien, and just blew me away. She was fantastic. And I mean, to me, this is a double whammy. I'm bringing new blood in, and we're helping advance, a female into the industry where that needs to happen. And we don't need to beat that horse, but we all know that that's still a problem that exists.
Great.
And so she came in, and she basically, it was funny because she sat right over there out my office window or office door is where our conference room is. And she would sit there on the far side looking at me. And so I would be sitting here typing, and she would be asking me questions and talking all summer long. Like, that was it. And so when she left, she said she went to turn in her laptop, and I said, I'm optimistic. Go ahead and take that back with you. I'll have some things for you to do during the course of the year if you want to have the ability to make a little coin on the side when you're downtime. And I'm pretty sure you're going to come back and work with us when you get your degree next year. You just don't know it yet. And she said, I've been listening to you spit all that Chris Voss psychological sales crap all summer long. It's not going to work. It's not going to work on me. And I said, fair point. Just take the laptop. And if you decide you're not coming back, I trust that you'll bring it back to me. And so in February, I knew it was getting time because she's going to have her master's. She graduates in August. I knew it was getting to be the time where she was going to start having interviews and everything. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I got this idea I wanted to run by you just to get your point of view, see what you think about it. And she said, okay. I said, I've been thinking about creating a job for the agency. And I don't know if you know anybody at Florida State that this would fit or not, but I need a risk management technology liaison for all of our clients. I need somebody that can interface everything we have. And it's a position that we've kind of informally had in the agency, but I'm at the point right now where we spend, and agencies at large do this, we spend so much money on our tech stack, but then we don't do anything to make sure that it's getting implemented to the end user. We typically let it sit there, collect dust, and then blame the software or the product when it doesn't work, when we really didn't get behind it the way we should have. And so what I envision for her is to become part of the point of sale, part of the onboarding process, and then knowing that we need to get this person into Zenjuries for claims administration. We need to get a intranet build out and KPA so that they can track certificates and all of the things they need to track and do subcontractor agreements, learning management system, all of the things we do, and then monitor the utilization reports and then call people out if they're not actually using that stuff, especially if their losses are not are out of control like they were when we brought them in. And then also, use her to educate the population at large. We can use her to do new business generation with doing webinars around specific topics that our software is a solution to, and market it to everybody in our CRM. So I'm just super pumped to have her because to me, this is going to be a big differentiator for the agency. Our technology always has been, but then having this one extra piece. And so it was funny because she came in, and when she came in, she goes, I need to talk to you one more time. We talked 2 or 3 times. And then I finally said, look, I said, she goes, well, why wouldn't I be interested in this? And I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't sure if you had opportunities or not yet. And I said, so obviously we would love to talk to you about it. So the conversation turned toward the two of us talking. And when she was in here,
so was that some Chris Voss reverse psychology stuff?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so to wrap it up, when she was in here and I was ready to make her the offer, I told her, I said, look, I'm one of these people, just don't make it weird. You tell me what you want to make, and we're going to figure out how to get you there. I don't want money to ever be something we can't have a conversation about, or anything, around your job for that matter. But so she gets to the end and she goes, I said, take a couple of weeks to think about it. Just let me know. I said, all I ask is I'm going to have this position filled by October 1st. That's what I put on. I said, I know you don't get out of school till August. So if it is something you're really interested in, just let me know. And I'm not going to interview anybody else moving into October 1st. And she said, I don't know why I lay all my cards on the table, but I'm just going to tell you now, I'm going to take the job. And I said, well, I knew that 30 minutes ago because you started speaking with assumptive language when we were having our conversation, talking about when we or what we do or how we're going to do this. And I said, Abby, I had you then. She looked at me. I said, I got better over the course of the last year.
And I love that you gamed the system with that internship because you got to have the longest interview ever to make sure you're the right person for a new role that most agencies aren't even using in the industry. So I before we came on, David, I asked ChatGPT what I should ask you about, and ChatGPT says that I need to ask David how you use technology and data and how you see AI and machine learning helping agents improve their game. So it sounds like Abby's going to be able to help you with that.
She is. Yeah. And, it's just amazing to me. There's just so much stuff out there. and the thing is, the insurance industry is still so far behind everybody else, like with technology and everything. But I feel like the gap's closing. I feel like we're getting closer to having some of the same tools at around the same time. But a lot of what I see right now are the things that are coming out of Arias Analytics with Donna for Agents, so you can more intelligently cross-sell and have your fingers on the pulse of the relationship that you have with the people that are in your agency that are clients. And then the other one that and we actually are a user of this one is Meet Leo to create dynamic prospecting lists. But the thing that's cool about both of those technologies, and honestly, Neon's the one who started this, but they're both apps that sit on top of your agency management system. So, I mean, now we used to identify ideal prospects and think through who we want to write and carrier appetite and all of that. Now, Meet Leo integrates with the agency management system. It scans your clients and it matches them against their 40 million businesses in their database, and then it populates a leads list of exactly what you already write. Like this is your ideal client. I don't care what you think it is. This is what your agency management system says. And for me, that's powerful. Not just that product, but anytime you have the ability to have data to make decisions, it is not a difficult process to make a decision at that point. It's when we have to try and guess, if we don't know what our numbers are, if we don't know what our retention is, if we don't know the average number of policies that we have per, client file, how do we determine cross-selling strategy? How do we determine, any of this stuff? Now it's in front of you in real time, and there's really no excuse other than we have to execute on what the data says.
It sounds like it would minimize some of the human error in that forecasting too. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, for us, we've been very tech forward from the beginning. So like we have a mobile app for all of our workers' comp clients, so that first report of injury, accident investigation, pictures, all of that stuff is warehoused in Zenjuries. And, then we can collaborate with the client, the agency, the claims adjuster, even the injured employee with some restrictions on what they can see. But anytime a claim updates, I get a push notification. I know immediately when a reserve has changed or anything else across our entire book of business. We can provide a lot of value in training and development and compliance just because of the learning management system stuff that we use with all of our clients. It never ends at this point. And what's cool is I think the biggest shift that I've seen in the last couple of years that I find to be absolutely fascinating is the people like you and I that just go out and invent technology to make their lives easier, and then they take it commercialization.
There's so much opportunity still there. So the gap's closing, but I think there's still some pain points that we can solve. And so you love being on the production side, but you're taking the time to build the infrastructure and the processes and the automation that allow you to have the bandwidth to be hands-on in the production side and working with clients.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And, I can do the ops piece. I just did it for like ever in retail, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired. I mean, I've had total P&L responsibility since I was 21 years old. So, at some point that wears off, and I'm at the point now where I just like to be with the producers. The problem is I've always been that way and didn't pay as much attention to the ops. And I'm pretty transparent about that. Like, even inside of my private community, I'll tell people, look, there's a reason you hear me talk about production all the time. We don't have all this stuff figured out over here yet. And so I can tell you all the stupid stuff that I've done, and I can tell you what we're doing now that's working. But this is a segment of my business that I can't let my ego get in the way. I'm capable of doing that. I'm capable of training producers and producing myself, but I'm not capable of doing both. You can't do that in an agency at this point. You have to have a bifurcation of responsibility. And so I'm happy to admit that I need help. I'm happy to bring somebody in that's better at that or smarter than me, because that's the only way the agency is going to get better. And if I wanted to control everything and try and have my thumbs on it, then we're never going to reach our full potential. We're only going to be able to get as high as what I can take us. And I can't do that by myself. I have to have other people to help me do it.
Well, it's speaking for the industry here. We don't need you to have operational excellence. We need you to teach us how to kill commercial and be a carpool closer and how to perfect our craft. So I'd say you're definitely crossing some T's there. So talk to me about Producers in Paradise. That's for killing commercial, right?
It is. And so it's a really cool event. It kind of happened serendipitously. I was never planning on putting it together. What happened was Annie and I go to Key West about 4 or 5 times a year just because we need to get away with Ethan's neurological issues. He has a lot to handle. And the other thing is, I don't think couples by and large do a good enough job on focusing on just the two of them, especially when you have kids. And I don't want anything to ever happen negatively between me and my wife. And I know that if we're constantly dating and doing things together, that removes a lot of possibility for us to have friction in different areas. And so we go down, like I said, 4, 5, 6 times a year. And we were going down in the summer 3 years ago. I just put it out on Facebook because I had some room, and I said, listen, I've got a fishing charter booked. If 4 people want to come, I'd be happy to bring you down as our guest. I'll take care of your charter. We can even talk shop for a couple of days, and we can call it a business expense. And, I had 25 people reply. So we ended up the very first year, we went from having nobody coming or this thing not even being in existence to kind of an informal but a little bit formalized weekend. And we did like 4 or 5 charter boats that year. And I realized pretty quickly that if I could just put one Facebook post out, that obviously people were looking for something they weren't getting. And so last year I started putting a little bit of the marketing machine behind it. And then this year, even more. But at the core, the event is very, very unique. It's different than anything else that's out there. And I start it every year the same way. And it's fun for me to watch people's reactions, because we start with open mic. And it's everybody going around the room that says, here's who I am. Here's where I'm from. This is what I'm really good at. And this is what I really need help with, that I'm looking for help this weekend. And the reason that I do that is because the one thing every single one of us hears when we come back from a conference is, oh yeah, the speakers were good. The breakouts were good. I really wish I had more time in the lobby. Really wish I had more time talking to my peers so that we could, discuss the information and hear what's working for them and not. So that gets rid of that. Now everybody there knows who can help them, who they can help. And we only meet for like 3 or 4 hours each of the 2 days, hyper focused stuff. And the rest of the time is all of the time in the lobby and everything else. And I don't even have to orchestrate that. Everybody finds themselves and they hang for the weekend, and people make relationships they never would have made. Now, once this thing became something somewhat official, like last year, I started to put a little bit of my touches on it. So now it's different. You show up on Thursday night. We got the blue carpet because we're blue and gold, just like Florida Risk. And so we got the glittery blue carpet, and you walk to a catamaran and you get your picture taken with your spouse or your significant other. And I take those pictures, I upload them, and we send a thank you card with that picture. It's at the people's house before they ever get home from Producers in Paradise with that picture on it from Thursday night. And then we go and we kick it off with the sunset cruise around Key West. It's fully catered and everything. Meet for 3 or 4 hours Friday, 3 or 4 hours Saturday. This year, we're bringing in Josh Braun as our speaker to come in and do a sales workshop for everybody, which is huge. And then Saturday we do it again, and we talk about different things. We've got a really good, solid work comp panel with Todd Tams from Mod Advisor, Jess Dantis from Zenjuries, Kevin Ring from the Institute of Work Comp Professionals, Michael Zal from Yellowbird, so that these guys can talk about technology and workers' comp and claims administration and all of that stuff. But we're also doing one with one of our members and Carrie Wallace that's titled How to Prepare Your Agency for an IRS Audit. That's something nobody ever talks about. And our member happened to go through one this year. And I asked that person, are you comfortable? And he's like, absolutely. This is family. I have no problem with it. I want everybody to know what they would be in for if this goes down. And then the coolest thing that we do is on Sunday, we charter boats. That's where we came from. It was the very first weekend. And this year, I think we've got 10 or 12 boats that we've chartered. And so we have a subset of people that want to go offshore fishing. They get to go offshore fishing. And I have to warn them, this is not we throw 100 people on a boat and everybody drops a line over the side. These are legit sport fishing boats that if you went on ESPN, you're going to see these captains, because they're the ones that take the guides or the TV guys when they come down to Key West. And we fish all day. And for the people who don't want to do that, we do an eco tour that's just like a little tootle around with sandbar snorkeling, and that's catered as well. But the whole event culminates on Sunday night when we go and we take everything that we caught while we were fishing to a restaurant, not everything, but what we need to feed everybody, to a restaurant, and they prepare the catch that we made that day. We're eating the fish that we caught. And then I get up and I give this symbolic speech about how, today's different, no different than any other day on the street. Some of you are new in commercial insurance. Some of you are new in fishing. But when you came here, we told you we would take care of you. We put you with a great guide that's going to give you the instruction and the tools necessary to catch the fish, because in the real world, we have to eat what we kill. And tonight, we're actually symbolizing that by eating what we kill. And I go for like 10 minutes and thank everybody for coming. And then we break up and everybody goes home Monday morning. So just a really, really, really cool event. Very low key. But man, the other thing that I do that I think is really important in that is I want everybody to bring their spouse or their significant other, period, because this is not an easy industry. And it's certainly not an easy industry when you're in middle market specifically, because the sales cycle is longer and you're going to have months where you don't bring anything in. I still do, right? It's just the nature of the beast. And so I knew up front that I needed to get the others involved, because people need the support structure at home. They don't need somebody that's nagging at them or griping about how hard they're working or whatever else. And that's been probably the most magical thing that's come out of this, because the spouses all have their own thread. And I keep saying spouses because it's not just wives. We have female agency owners, plenty of them, in Killing Commercial, and their husbands come and they hang out with the wives when they're there. And they have their own text thread. Annie will be laying in bed and laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? She goes, oh, it's the Killing Commercial wives thread, blah, 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 blah. And like, they have their own thing now. And so it's just been really, really humbling for me, because all I did was have an idea and I sort of coordinate it, but it's really the community. And that's the power in every single thing we do with that group. It's not the learning management system. It's not the content library. It's not Producers in Paradise. It's the people and the relationships that are formed, and the fact that these people are genuine and they perpetuate that, and everybody gets better every single year. It's just amazing to see how far some of these people have come.
And you have that community now, and you can now see the fruit that it's bringing and how they're getting better every year. But it couldn't have been like that year one. So tell us why did you start Killing Commercial, and where did you get this driving need to say okay, I need to give people that great guide and the tools that they need to catch the fish? Where did that start?
So based on our conversation prior to recording, Protege season 3 will be live next week. I mean, at this point, almost. That's how fast I move. So in reality, what happened was nobody knew who I was. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I never spoke at an event, never did anything. And then when I launched my agency in 2016, I found through somebody who added me to IAOA, I met Nick Ayers and Dave Jackson and all of those guys, and I went to my first innovation when it was in Vegas and met some people. And then when I went to the second one in San Diego, they asked me if I would speak on how I recruit talent from outside the industry. And so I did a breakout session on recruiting producers, because I don't hire people with insurance experience. I hire business to business salespeople. That's the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. And I spoke, and as soon as I was done, I had like 40 or 50 agency principals like pulling me in a bunch of different directions. Do you work with agencies? Do you work with producers? Can you help? Can you do a workshop for us? Can you train? My answer was no, whoa, absolutely not. I got a scratch agency I'm trying to keep on the rails myself, and this is not really something I'm interested in. I have a hard enough time taking care of my own kitchen. And then the problem is I'm entrepreneurial, and I got on the plane to fly home for 5 hours and had nothing to do but think. And so, I started thinking to myself, well, Florida risk's growing pretty quick. I need to bring in some more producers. I probably need to get myself digital and put together some semblance of an LMS so that they can get the training and I'm not getting pulled a bunch of different directions with them. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can monetize it. We'll put it out there. I'm not trying to, make this my retirement plan or anything, but I got to get something for the opportunity cost of my time. Otherwise it's not worthwhile. And, so I came home, and one of the things I usually do, I've gotten bad about it recently. I need to get back to my roots with this, but most of the time when I speak, I always tell people I'm an open connector on social. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever. Just know that like what you see is what you get. There are no secrets in our house, and I'm no different here than I'm going to be in my living room. So if you're entertained, you're going to continue to be entertained. And if you're not, then don't bother connecting because it's not going to be anything better. But I announced on there, I said, listen, for those of you who approached me, I have something coming out. If you want to do a discovery call, I did a landing page and sort of a little teaser. I had nothing, no viable product, nothing. It was literally just me saying, this is what's going to come and get ready for it. And within 48 hours, the first 25 agencies had signed up and really only signed up based on what I described to them that this was going to be. And then I had to get busy. And it's funny because originally it was only Killing commercial, but then Jason Cass and a couple of other people started selling middle market accounts that they weren't used to selling. They're like, okay, we sold it. Now what? And I'm like, oh, crud, I got to add more. So then we added Keeping commercials so they could know what to do after the fact. Then we put in master classes and the content library and everything else. But the one thing, we were sitting here putting this together, and we built the first iteration of it in about 2 weeks, and we were working like dogs to get it done. But I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? These people are spread all over the country. And the one thing that would make this awesome is if we had in a community online that we could, be in and thrive in without worrying about competition, which is why we put geographic exclusivity in it. Now we have, the news feed where people can ask questions. We have the war room. We have a mobile app at this point where we get push notifications. So if a producer's out on the road and has a question, boom, they can go in and get 100 answers from people, just based on posting and how that works. And so that has really, really been a cool thing. And, most people that reach out to me want to know about the training. I tell them the training is not where it's at. It's the community and all the people that are in there. I liken it to, if you're going to move to Mexico for the rest of your life, you probably need a couple of years of Spanish so you know how to speak the language. That's the learning management system. But the real value is all of the relationships and the network you're going to build, because what's crazy is people freely refer business. I mean, there are millions of dollars of premium every single month that are getting passed back and forth in that community. And that's something I didn't anticipate.
That's huge. Did you have a resource like that when you started selling commercial insurance?
No, and that's really the other reason why I did it, because I had nothing, right? I was basically said, go figure it out. And if you do it, you'll be great. And if you don't, well, you'll be looking for a job in a year when you don't validate. So I had to figure it out. And a good bit of what we teach is some of that strategy that I figured out the hard way.
So now that you are working with a group of agents and their top producers, and you've provided a ton of resources to them, what training gaps do you see happening inside of agencies?
I'm going to be devil's advocate here and probably get some tomatoes thrown at me. I don't think agents take continuing ed seriously enough. I just think we pencil whip it, and that creates its own training gap in and of itself. The principle of insurance hasn't really changed since it was invented, but how it gets delivered and how policies read and all of that certainly have. And I just see too many people that, want to go through the online continuing ed, fast forward through it, and just take the test at the end to get those hours of credit so they're in compliance for their license, when in reality, they're only hurting themselves and not setting themselves up for success when they're out on the street. And they're setting a bad example for their agents too. So one of the ways that we combat that, I tell everybody, if you're going to be successful specifically in commercial, you have to have a proven and replicable sales process, and you have to have a foundational understanding of what it is that you're even doing with insurance. And so we can help you with the proven and replicable sales process, but I send everybody to the National Alliance to go get their CIC designation because, well, that's what I did. I mean, I don't have any scientific reason other than when I was told to figure it out, I immediately went and got my CIC drinking from a fire hose. I started in July and finished in December of the same year. That's how hungry I was for knowledge. And so I recommend a lot of people do that. So when you ask me about the gaps, I think that the gap could be either or both of those. And I think that it's just agencies have a really tough time with managing the load of everything they're doing. And I don't think this is relegated to the insurance industry, to be honest with you. I think it's pretty much any industry. Training seems to take the back seat, right? When I came up through the ranks in retail, training was the very first thing that I did, right? And I felt like I knew what I was doing when it was time for me to go do my job. We wonder why we turn staff over, but then we don't ever stop and realize that we never invested in them at the level we should have to begin with. We never provided them with the tools they needed. I'm not even talking about technology, just even access to the agency principal is something most people crave and they don't get because they're just so busy. And so, I think we all would benefit from, I tell my team all the time, we need to slow down to speed up, because we'll be much better off if we slow down and make sure we're taking care of the basics than if we're just trying to grow a top line number at a feverish pace. That's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. So slowing down to speed up. And what advice are you giving agency owners or the key sales manager in an agency? Like, what is their role? What should they be doing and not doing if they're responsible for training or coaching the commercial producers in their agency?
Yeah, so the people that are in, when an agency comes into Killing Commercials specifically, I essentially become the outsourced sales manager for them. So I get to be the bad guy to make them feel better about themselves. I can ask the direct questions because that's kind of what I'm there for. But, I really just think the biggest thing is making sure that they set expectations correctly at the onset of the relationship, right? How many times has anybody gotten a job and you walk in and you get all your orientation paperwork? Do you ever get an actual roadmap of your training? Do you ever get something that says this is the direction we're going to take, and here's how long you should be spending doing this every day, because we want you to do a certain amount of your day in a learning environment, and then we want you to go apply it in your actual job. Here's how long it should take you to get through the entire thing. Here's the carrot. Here's the reward we're going to give you at the end, whether that be a designation or some sort of a monetary reward or something. And, it's interesting. I don't think people think through that. We want to talk about having great cultures, but we start off on the wrong foot if we don't even do that simple thing. And to be completely honest with you, I don't know how many, and I'll raise my hand, that's why I use Mineral, because we can have a learning management system on their platform for the agency related stuff that's not hyper sales focused. But I don't know how many agencies even have formalized training. How many, like if I were to ask you, how do you get a CSR up and running? Well, if you were to ask me, I'm going to tell you, I didn't have a formalized program, so I just outsourced that all to Total CSR. Let them do it. They've already figured out the mousetrap. Why do I need to try and recreate the wheel? It's cheaper for me to hire them.
Absolutely. So it's the top of the hour and you have a full day. So I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Help me figure this out. So you mentioned that you value geographic exclusivity in your mentoring program.
Mm-hmm.
But you've seen the magic that comes from the community. So when should we be competing and when should we be collaborating?
So we literally don't have any bleed over in Killing Commercial right now, right? So none of those people are ever going to, probably a very, very rare case. But, the other thing is, I'm not somebody who's ever going to have a scarcity mindset. There's a lot of that's out there. And I feel like if you have a scarcity mindset, you're really just limiting your ability to grow your business and grow yourself. And I was actually talking to somebody from Killing Commercial earlier today, and he told me, I'm going to go meet with this person, and this person. And they were all three agents in his community that he actively competes against, but they were going to go have lunch together. And they were going to talk about, what they're doing, things that are working, things that are not. I'm sure they're not sharing every single secret, but that's really important. I don't think, number one, everybody says it. I don't know how many actually believe it, but there is plenty of business to go around. There, if there was one agency, there'd be a lot of people without insurance because you just can't get to all of them. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being friendly competitors. The other thing is, and this even goes back 20 years to when I first started, and I made friends with people when I was going through and getting my CIC, guys that I got to be really good friends with. And even though, we competed against each other, we always had sort of that gentleman's agreement that we weren't going to compete against each other. So there would be a time where I would get into an account and I would go to a first meeting and I would find out that it was with one of my friends, that I referenced, and I would gracefully back out of the deal. I would say, listen, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here today, but I got to tell you, you're with a really good agent already. And I understand this is probably weird to you because we're competitors technically, but I can't improve anything over what I know they're doing. So I'm going to back away, tell you you're in good hands. And if you want any advice at all from me, I would tell you stay where you're at. Don't even call anybody else in here because you've got everything you could possibly want. And that served me well over the years. And that was reciprocated. There's never been a time where, at least that I'm aware of, where any of the people that we had those kind of handshake deals with that, hey, look, there's plenty of business. We're not going to compete. None of those people ever burnt me either. And I think it's just a matter of stepping out on faith a little bit and realizing that not everybody's there to try and get one over on you. And you can actually have friends in the industry. I mean, who else are you going to have any more in common with than somebody who's doing the same thing you're doing? And yet we put ourselves in these islands because we're worried about whether or not we're competing with people. And I never really, the people that I don't like that I compete against, those people every single day. Like even if they're in my town, I'm probably not going to go to lunch with them anyhow, but I'm also going to compete with them. But there is a lot to be said for finding a local mentor or just even an accountability group or whatever of people that are in the industry that you can call on and meet with regularly.
You mentioned that some of those gaps are starting to close in the industry. And I've noticed that some of that is due to just the collaboration and agents linking arms and helping each other figure it out. It seems like every agency has a secret sauce and something different. And so together we can accomplish a lot. What are some success stories that you've seen from Killing Commercial that really just mean the most to you and keep you keep it going?
That's my mail from the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Thank you notes, right? So you can pay me any amount of money you want, but nothing's going to ever mean more than that. I think the biggest, so many success stories. I mean, I see somebody like Ciara Gravier who literally nobody knew who she was. She was kind of doing her own thing, didn't have anybody that she could really call on to help her. I mean, her dad obviously ran an agency and she could call him, but she knew what she wanted to do and she didn't know how to get there. And I've seen her go from somebody who was somewhat insecure to building a powerful brand, being able to tell that story, but not just being able to tell the story to hundreds, if not thousands of people as she's now going out and speaking about that story. I mean, that's somebody that I will always have a special place for in my heart. I actually have a special place for her dad too, because when Ciara called me the first time, I told her I couldn't let her in due to geographic exclusivity because we had somebody else that was, close. And out of nowhere, this old man just started dripping on me on LinkedIn. And I realized, wait a minute, that's that girl's dad that, I talked to a couple weeks ago. And like, I tolerated it for like 2 months. And finally I caved. I called the other guy. I'm like, look, this is like right on the border. Do you have a problem? He's like, oh no, it's no big deal. There's plenty of business down here to go around. That's when you picked the right person for your community, number one. But number two, we let her in and that sort of changed everything. But I think probably the one that blew my mind the most is I had a guy that started on a Wednesday. And I told him, I said, I got your back, man. Once you're in, go start, get through some of the learning stuff, but you can have conversations. There's nothing that's going to catch you off guard because you have an army of people here that can make sure you do this right. And so he called me on a Friday, and I said, "What's going on?" He said, well, I accidentally got in front of a prospect yesterday. I said, "How does that work?" He said, I was out calling. I had this list of people, and I'd walked in, and this is like one of those accounts that I've always dreamed I'd be able to write. And I just happened to have the CFO come out, and he told me he would be willing to take a meeting, and he would even let me do an experience mod audit for him because his mod was like a 1.37. And I said, "Wow." I said, "Okay." And I said, I'd be happy to help you with. Did you get the loss runs? He goes, "I got the loss runs. I got the mod authorization or mod worksheet authorization letter. So we're good to go." He said, "When can we do it?" I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, "We have our biweekly killer call coming up on Tuesday. Why, if you're cool with it, why don't I just do the mod audit live for everybody on the call? And that way I can show you how to do it, but the community can learn." And so we spent an hour, going through it. And I was telling him, here's what I'm looking at. Here's why I'm looking at it. This is a question I'm going to ask. This is the answer you're probably going to get. You may also get this one. Here's how you reply to both of them. Basically set up the entire conversation. And what I didn't say, what I didn't mention is the account was $500,000 in premium. Like on the first prospect the guy goes and calls on, it's $500,000 account. So like he's all pumped up. And so that was on Tuesday. He had his meeting on Wednesday. I told him, I said, "Make sure you call me." I said, "I will bug you. If I don't hear from you, I need to know how this went." Don't hear from him Wednesday. Don't hear from him Thursday. The weekend's coming up. It's like 4:00 Eastern. This guy's over on the other coast. And I'm like, I'm not going into the weekend not knowing what's going on. So I pick up the phone and call him. And I said, "Hey, how'd your appointment go?" He said, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. I meant to call you. I'm trying to call you 1,000 times." I said, "Okay, great. How'd the appointment go?" He goes, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "Try me." He said, "David, I went in there. I did the mod audit. I walked right down the line of questioning. The answers the answers that you guessed are pretty much spot on word for word. It's like you're a psychic." And I used the replies to him. And he said, "We ended up taking the entire account on an agent of record letter on the first meeting." I said, "That's awesome, man. $500,000 in premium." He said, "No, David." He said, "500,000 was the workers' comp. We got the entire account. It's $1.2 million in premium." This dude had never written a middle market account in his entire life.
No.
And honestly, I gave him the information, but I don't know how many people have the guts to go in front of 1.2 million in premium without really knowing what they're doing and, just blindly trusting in following the process. And this dude, he's written over $500,000 in revenue in the 2 years that he's been in Killing Commercial, which is huge to me.
That's incredible. And wow. So he had the guts and you had the process, and the two together made it.
And the guts were the more important part, really.
That's awesome. And it's incredible what can happen when we get, the right tools in the right hands. And if you guys haven't connected with Ciara yet, make sure that you're following her on LinkedIn, because if you're looking to have a more unique value prop for your agency and something that really resonates with your niche, you have to hear more about her client journey for the bunker. So thanks for telling us how you connected with her, David, and reminding us that nothing's going to catch you off guard when you have an army of people next to you.
No, and what's really cool about her story is when she talks, when she, she's got two different presentations that she's done now, that she alternates between. That's the Killing Commercial process. She just put her own flavor, her own spin on it, and that's what I love about it the most. It doesn't have to be, cookie cutter. Just follow it. Put your own spin. Put your own flavor. Just don't abandon the core principles, and it's going to work out great for you.
Those core principles carried across the finish line. So yeah,
100%.
Thanks for sharing a little more about like why you built Killing Commercial, how it's impacted the people that are inside of it and elevated these agents that are now making a huge difference and making ripples in the industry. And I know of a couple other ones off the top of my head that you've impacted as well. So thanks for sharing with us a little bit more behind the scenes, and hope you guys have a blast in paradise and enjoying the Keys here this summer. It sounds like you guys are gonna rock and roll.
I hope so. We have a really good time for sure.
Thanks, David. And how can our listeners connect with you if they haven't yet? If you're not in their Facebook feed or their news feed yet, I don't know what they're doing wrong.
No, I would just say, if you want to get to me personally, you can go to killingcommercial.com and you can schedule time on my calendar there. But if you want to follow me on social, I'm on literally every single platform, because I learned a long time ago, you got to meet people where they want to be met. Not everybody wants to be met in email, on your blog, on LinkedIn, Facebook. We got to know about Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. So we're literally everywhere at this point. If you can't find me, please let me know, because I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, definitely check out David's playlist on TikTok, Carpool Closers as well. That one's a winner. And thanks for joining us, David. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day in sunny Florida.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us for this episode where we give you a taste of what the Amplify You program has in store for you. It's more than just a podcast. It's a comprehensive suite of resources designed to ignite your growth and success in the insurance industry. Get ready to explore our dynamic online learning management system, where you'll find a wealth of valuable courses and modules tailored specifically for insurance agency owners and their teams. We'll also highlight our calendar of virtual training workshops where featured guest experts share their expertise and provide actionable insights. And for those seeking an immersive learning experience, we'll discuss our exciting training boot camps designed to accelerate your progress and build community. The Amplify You program is your one-stop destination for future forward education and resources, and we can't wait to share it with you.